Hi there, and welcome to my channel. The always evolving work in progress channel. We're still kind of figuring out where we're going, or what direction this channel will actually take. It just kind of appears, here and there and everywhere. So we're just kind of watching it and seeing what happens. However, we still have this idea, this vision, um, that we should have conversations with everyday people, people just like you and me, those of us that are navigating through this lifetime and through this journey on a daily basis. And we could share our journey, we can share our stories, we can share our successes, our failures, our difficulties, the whole ball game there. And we think by doing that, that we can probably help one another this way. In other words, as we hear one another's stories, oftentimes that's what helps us get either inspired or gives us an answer or, moves us in some direction. So that's the goal. It's not really a goal, but it's an idea. We'll wait and see if this is going to actually come to fruition. However, if this idea appeals to you and you think it's a good idea and would like to have a conversation with me, then just check below this video and there's my contact information. Click on it and let's see where we can go from there. Okay. So until anything changes at this point in time, I find different, or I'm inspired, or kind of it's a download, I don't know what to call it, where I get ideas of what to talk about every time I record a video. And it came to mind today to talk about the voice in our head. We all have it. It never stops. It never will. You can't stop the voice in your head. But sometimes people will ask or say, how do you tell the difference between that voice that's always in our head or when something's coming through from our guides or our intuition, gut feeling, that type of thing? How do we tell the difference? Well, first of all, it takes some practice to really get familiar with this voice in the head. Even though it's been there for, well, as long as any of us can remember, right? It's not something that we are very, we're just not very familiar with it. That sounds crazy, I know, because it's the voice in our head, but we're not really as tuned in or self-aware of what this voice is really about. So that's the first step, is start to identify this voice in the head. And how you do that is one, make an intention that you really want to start to listen or hear what this voice is saying. Now, we all have it going on and we become kind of like oblivious to the conversation, if you will, that this voice seems to be having with us, even though it's one voice. And we call it a voice, but the truth is it's really an experience of something talking, but not really talking with a voice. There's something going on that kind of feels like it's something talking, but it's not our voice. It's not even a voice. You couldn't say that, no, it's a female voice or a male voice. It's this chatter, That's how I kind of experience it. That's going on in the mind. Feels like it's in the head, right? So here's the different ways this voice or this conversation takes place. First of all, it can be very judgmental. That's common. So if you really tune in to listen, which we're going to try to do because that's how we practice, then you'll notice that a lot of this chatter is judging us, judging outside of us, judging what it's seeing, judging others, judging ideas. It's judging, you know? And it's not positive judging. Well, I shouldn't say not. Occasionally, you might be surprised and it has a positive, like, oh, I really like that, or that's a good idea, something like that. But it's judging regardless. It's a judgment type of experience that we have with the voice. It can also be very much a bully, and definitely a bully to ourselves. So telling the voice is telling us, or the experience of what we're calling a voice in the head is expressing how bad we did a job, or what a loser we are, or how bad we look, or the mistake. Look at the mistake you made. Look at that. That's terrible. It's kind of that thing. We all should be very familiar, in a sense, with that bully type experience that we have with the voice in the head. So it's definitely a bully. It has an opinion about everything, really, whether it's the weather, or the clouds in the sky, or the blue sky, or the whatever we're looking at, the garden. That could be a bully. Look, you've done a lousy job with your garden. Look, things are dying in the garden because you don't take care of it. You know, that type where it's we're constantly feeling this harassment, right? This harassment. Oh, the other thing that it does a lot of is talking about a situation. Let's say you have a disagreement with somebody, let's say in your family, and then the conversation that you're hearing, this experience, is about how they're wrong and you're right, you know? So then it gets into all the wrongness of the person that you're having this issue with, and it goes on with that. Now, here's the thing. You know, if you think about it, if we were really always engaged 100% with this voice in the head, I think it would pretty much be crazy making, but we're not always involved with it. We have the ability somehow to tune it out. Even though it's going, we're tuning it out, or we're engrossed in something else. We're watching a movie. Now, in the background, that voice is talking, even though, let's say, we're very engaged with a movie. It's going. Or let's say you're engaged with another person one-on-one, and you're having a conversation, you know, literally, your voice, their voice, conversation, yet in the back of the mind, and that kind of background, this voice is judging, giving, say this, say that, you know, that kind of thing. So it's there. It's always there. It never shuts up. I don't know about when we sleep. It seems like we don't hear it, but I bet it's still going anyway. And what we have evidently learned to do, or I don't know what to call it, like a way not to go crazy with the voice, is we can seem to distract ourselves from it to where it's going, but we're really not that involved in listening, and that can happen. Now, in meditation, for some people, this is a time where they're more focused on maybe a mantra, or saying Om, or whatever it is, to get them into a deeper place to where the voice could be going, but they're not hearing it, right? So in meditation, we may feel like, okay, the voice got quiet. The truth is, whatever this is that we're calling the voice, because I don't know what else to call it, this chatter, this noise in my head, never stops. Never. And it clearly is not into our intuition, because it's constantly either judging, has an opinion, often running in a whole dialogue. And if we get lost in that dialogue with it, let's say, you know, we're having an argument with someone, and it's full on then, saying why the other is wrong and you're right, or vice versa, can say that as well, that you're wrong and the other's right. You know, we never know what direction it might take. But if you just stop and think about this experience of this chatter in the head, feels like it's in the head, one has to wonder, where is this coming from, or how does this happen? Is it the ego, the false self, the fault? Just like we get attached to having being a false character, or a character in our movie, which is really a false self, because we're out here having this experience in this 3D world, where there's form and all energy, but it comes in as form, right? And so maybe it's there that we begin to start to listen. The key right now, what I'm talking about, is just begin to tune in to the voice in the head. Like right now, I'm talking, I'm recording, something's going on inside that kind of is, I don't know, in a way, offering me what I'm saying. I don't know how to say that, but it's like words are coming out. Okay? And I think in the background, though, is judging going on. Like, is that making sense, what you just said? Is that judgment? It's bizarre. I mean, it really is bizarre when you think about it. It is totally crazy, but that's what's going on. So no wonder many of us never hear our intuition, or we do only occasionally, because that voice, that chatter, overrides it. But here's the deal. We can actually put our focus on a place where we don't get engaged with the voice. What happens is, if we get engaged, meaning that chatter gets our attention, and then we're off and running with the thought. And thoughts just come and go. I don't know where they come from. I don't. I mean, I don't know how that works, the mechanics of it, or I don't know how it works. Maybe somebody does, and you could tell me in the comments. I don't know how that happens. But if we get caught up in the story that's going on in this experience, this chatter, then we're kind of lost and off and running. Maybe that's like daydreaming sometimes. You kind of get lost and you're staring into space because you're into this pattern of daydreaming, as they call it. But I know you know what I'm talking about, and it's really something that you can hardly talk about, because I don't even know how to exactly talk about it. It's not an easy thing to speak about, because it's such a odd experience, yet it's a very normal, one would call it, experience that we're all used to having. So the question is, how can I have this voice going on and chatter and still be aware when my intuitive communication shows up? And intuitive does show up also kind of like a voice, like turn left, turn right, move in this direction, or pick up the phone and call your mother, or check in on your brother, or it's things like that. But it's a voice that gives the it's without judgment, right? It's never with judgment. It's very to the point, detailed, like turn left, turn right. Not now. This doesn't, how sometimes we'll say, this just doesn't feel right in my gut. I have a gut feeling I shouldn't do this, because it's telling you, no, not now, or no, don't go there, or no, this isn't the right job for you, or no, this isn't the house for you. Whatever it is, we've had it through our life. It's there. It's always talking to us. The point is, are we listening, or are we confused with the difference between these two, whatever they are, communications that show up in what feels like in our head? And yet we seem to know the difference on some level, because many times we'll say, I just had a gut feeling not to go there. I had a gut feeling not to show up for this. Or I had a gut feeling not to take that particular flight out of San Francisco. And then, something perhaps happened with the plane. It's those kinds of things. I don't want to get lost in all the times that we get, we go, oh my God, I could have done that, but it kind of felt I shouldn't. So we have had a great amount of experience as well with that, what we call our intuition. And it's always, like I said, talking to us, just like this other thing that's constantly chattering. But there is a definite difference in energy, a definite difference in the way the communication goes. For instance, with our intuition, it's not really a conversation. It's more of do this or do that. We could call it, maybe like a demand, or it's more than a suggestion. It feels stronger than that, to do something or not to do something. It can come out of the blue, right? Even when talking, I don't consider myself somebody that really channels in the sense of what maybe channelers do. However, I oftentimes, it feels like the words, a lot of times when I'm doing these videos, because I don't write a script or I don't write down what I want to say and just kind of let it flow. So in that case, it just feels it comes through me from somewhere. I don't know. It just kind of comes through. And so, is that my intuition, or is that my higher self? Possibly so. I've had those times where it's been pretty awesome or pretty profound, where the information has kind of just come through me. And many years ago, I would talk to different groups, and this stuff was just coming through. It was kind of crazy at the time, or it seemed like. Not crazy, I just had a hard time trusting it, like, okay, here it goes. And this talking to groups seemed to want to build bigger, maybe even become a career. And I got scared and said, no, I can't do this. I just can't. I don't know where this is coming from when I speak, and then I don't always remember what I spoke about. And so clearly now I know that was coming from my higher self, but in those days we really weren't that tuned in to higher selves and kind of form of channeling, you could say. So there are these differences. Why am I bringing that up? Is to say, there's different ways that we are being communicated with. In automatic writing, there is a conversation that goes on, or a communication of, I'm oftentimes asking a question. Most of the time I'm asking questions, and there is communication of answers coming back, not from me, but through me. So it's so important to begin to have that understanding, I think, so we have a trust of, or we can kind of trust what's going on in there, in that chatter, and what do we believe or want to, or get caught up in. And if it's going to be a story, like who's right, who's wrong, shouldn't do that, should do this. If it's those kinds of, if that's the kind of communication, then that's that false voice in the head. That is not coming from our higher self. That's coming from the false self, the character that we think we are in the movie. It's coming from there. How that all, like I said, comes together, I don't know, but I just know it's there, and so do you. So to the question of how do we tell the difference between the higher self, let's call it that, who's communicating with us, or the false self, or this chatter that never stops. And so that's it. We have to kind of stop and listen. Stop and watch what we're doing. And you can, once you start to make the intention to do that, I'll tell you how it works for me is then as it's coming in and I'm even starting to get pulled into the story, then all of a sudden I get it. I go, wait, I see where this is going. It's pulling me in, and then I'm off and running, and it's not good. Most of the time it's very negative. It's not a positive experience. So every time I catch something wanting that communication saying, no, you were right, this one's wrong, or the judging of whatever that is, or the opinion of something or someone or some circumstance, then I can catch that and I don't have to be going down that road. And so I think here's what happens is the more often we can catch this situation, let's call it, where we're off and running with this chatter thing in our head, and kind of lost in la la land with it. As soon as we can identify what's really going on and catch, like, wait a minute, I'm caught up in this, whatever this is. As soon as we see that, it ends. It just stops. Not to say it won't come back 10 minutes or 15 minutes later, but at that point we're pretty tuned in. You're catching it. So again, it's something that really is very difficult to talk about or explain just in words because it is an experience. However, since we all have that experience in our own particular ways, but it's pretty much the same with that chatter thing going on, then we can understand that the idea here is to catch ourselves in that experience, and how many times we can catch ourselves going down going down the wrong course, let's say. It's rabbit hole, we could say, but really we start to see this kind of energetic pull. That's, I guess, what I want to call it. It's like an energetic pull. It's like we've been hypnotized and we're being pulled into this false, whatever it is, and that is all about opinions and judgments and negativity, right? Whereas when we're getting something from our higher self coming through as intuitive communication, it feels entirely different, and we know that. So I just wanted to kind of talk about this as best I could, because I think it's really important that we start getting in touch with that. Anybody and everybody that's really involved right now, the respected teachers, let's say, others that are involved in really understanding this situation we're in now of this evolution, this ascension, they're all saying the same thing, that this is a time where we have to go within. It's all within. It's not finding the next guru. It's not out there. It's within. And that we have to really have self-inquiry and really discover how it works inside of us, our whole inner world, and how we are structured there and where we get caught, and really literally become totally identified with this inner journey and begin to then work from that place to see where we have these beliefs that no longer are working for us, probably never did. Or we have these behaviors, or we have these circumstances that we're not really addressing. This is a hard job. This requires a lot of us to really go in and deeply look where did all this begin? What is the root cause of the way I behave? It's like we're researchers, going into a project and trying to really understand this whole project, how it works, how do we work. I mean, it's, here we are having this experience of being human, but we're spirit. But we're kind of get lost, like hypnotized, like or going kind of into a space where we're just not aware. So now is the time we need to become aware. We really need to understand exactly what we're doing here and what goes on within. And it's all an inside job. That's the bottom line. So that's why I thought it's very important that maybe we can take a look at this chatter thing in our head and start to identify that, because that's a big part of what goes on every moment of our life. I don't know when it started. You know, did it start from the moment we incarnated, or could we even be in that place of that point of understanding when we didn't have language? I don't know. Regardless, it's been with us most of our lives, most of the time. Maybe it waited till we started to get some language at whatever, you know, a year and a half or 2 years old. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is we need to go within. We need to start to research and untangle and discover this whole process that goes on that we've kind of just taken for granted in a way. I don't know, or just allowed and never questioned. Who knows? But now's the time to question. Now's the time to discover and uncover the truth of what's really going on. So I hope that made sense. I hope this maybe helped somebody. If you've been looking at this yourself, it'd be great to have a conversation about that. Definitely leave me a comment if you've been going through some of this, or you have some ideas around it, or some way that's helped you to really start to uncover this mystery, so to speak. Also, if you liked the video, please click like and do subscribe to my channel. And like I said, leave a comment. That would be super. And if you'd like to have a conversation with me on Zoom, and then we'll put it on this channel about your particular life stories or your journey, then definitely look below for the contact information for me. It's right below this video. And let's take that from there. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off because I don't know any other way to keep talking about this. Here's what happens for me. Once I start an idea and put it out there on this video, and hopefully it makes some sense. It's not totally like out to lunch, but there's a lot of questions in it. Then oftentimes I can start to get then better insights. It's like a starting point, and then I can get better insights and then post another video where it's clearer, more clear communication. And at times it isn't. And maybe just by bringing this up helps you realize that, oh, this is something that I haven't done, or this is something that I've experienced as well. And or make you curious. You know, that's the idea too. Can you get curious about what's really going on inside of you? You know, we are way more alike than not alike. So it's not like the story could look different. Our circumstances could look very different. But the whole mechanism of how this works is not different. It's the same. So let's give it a shot and see what we can learn from this. And we'll go from there. In the meantime, be kind to yourself. You know, that's another way, by the way, to tune into this, because oftentimes we're our worst bully. When I say we are our worst, it's whatever that is in the head that puts us down and tears us apart and tells us why we have no worth or value. And, you know, these are also coming from beliefs and programming and conditioning that we've been through. But this chatter thing in our head really takes advantage of those situations and really speaking to us in such a non-supportive way. That's another clue. This thing in our head, it's not supportive, right? Other than it could look that way if it's trying to tell you why you're right and the other's wrong. It's, you know, it's very weird. It is weird, and it can be very cunning in a way, and but very, it's not a positive situation. So as we're breaking out of this 3D, then this is part of what has to happen. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know I kind of keep repeating, trying to see, can I get it clearer? Like I said, I hope this made sense. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Take care. And I'm going to try with this clicker to make it click off with one click. Okay, we'll see. 3 clicks today.